This is Brian Davis with Twisted Barrel Outdoors, and we got some deer steaks from the buck I shot this previous season in 22, and figured might as well make some deer steak sandwiches. So this is how we do it. These are just steaks. Some of them still got silver skin on them, so we're just trimming some of that off, and then we're going to cut them. Since they were cut nice, we're just going to cut against the grain into thin slices. That way you don't get all the chewy pieces when you're eating the sandwich. Just cutting them almost at a slight angle, probably about 45-degree angle with the knife, just to help get more of a cross section against the grain so it doesn't pull when you're chewing it. Trying to take a bite from the sandwich. Now these were frozen. I got them out, thawed them, and let them get up to room temperature to cut them. I don't know if it makes a difference, but that's what we do. Now we're trying to keep these nice and thin, first off, so they cook faster, and making a sandwich, you're not just biting into a full steak. We're going to cut these up, and we're going to half an onion and cut it thin just for the flavor, because at the end the mixture in the pan gets real nice and thick for your sandwiches. Now I got 2 bags of steaks out that you will watch get cut up, and then we'll move over to the frying pan. We got all the steaks cut up. Now we're going to take 1 yellow onion, just cut it in half, and just make some thin slices out of the whole onion, just for some flavor. Now it's time to go to the stove with both of these. We got 2 tablespoons of butter in the frying pan just to get the meat and the vegetables started. Turn it to medium high just to get the butter melted and get the steak and the onions cooking down. Now we're using some soy sauce, some Worcestershire, some garlic powder, and Montreal. I like a lot of garlic, so I use both the real garlic and the powder. But I don't add the minced garlic in till the very end, because if you burn it, it can get a little bitter, it seems. So that's what we're doing. Alright, the butter's all melted. Now we're just going to add the steak. And we're going to let this get brown. Now you don't need to watch it carefully, just keep mixing it till it starts cooking, and then when it gets most of its brown, we're going to add the onion to start cooking down a little bit. And I'm going to wash my hands in the meantime. Now this is a fairly quick recipe. We used to do it a lot when we were butchering deer. We would cut some fresh steaks off it and just get it on the pan, because it doesn't matter how long it really sits and simmers. Turn the heat up a little bit more. And whenever you were hungry, you would just toast your bun and get it. Now I never really measured anything, but we're going to put the Montreal in, and I like to season it pretty heavy so you really get a lot of that taste. Plus there's quite a bit of meat here. And you're going to take some garlic powder and sprinkle a good majority on. And then after that gets browned up more, we're going to put some of the soy sauce and Worcestershire in and let it all simmer together. And we're taking it back up to medium high just to get everything browned and some of the liquid cooked out. And you can do this with anything from deer steaks to beef. Doesn't have to just be venison. Probably even be pretty good with some pheasant breast. If you want your dish to get a little bit spicier, you could add some crushed red peppers, or a couple fresh jalapenos would probably be pretty good in it too, just to get a little bit more of a spice to it. Now, something like this, I really don't want a lot of spice on it. And if it gets a little dry as you're simmering it with the soy sauce and Worcestershire, you can always add a little bit of a beer to it, about half a beer, and just let it simmer down. And it'll add a little bit different flavor depending on the beer that you choose. But with all this water in it, can you see that? With all this liquid from the meat, you're going to want to let a lot of that evaporate out, or else it's going to be really wet. Now it's not a hard meal to make, and it turns out pretty good. We like doing it a lot through the week with some nice and fresh rolls. Now we'll take and cut these in half, and we'll toast them up a little bit, and then make the sandwich and put a little bit of A1 sauce on it, which we'll show you later. But they turn out really nice. Now we're just going to let this sit here and simmer and cook out a lot of that moisture. We might drain it after everything's all cooked through thoroughly. And then we'll add our other liquids in it and the onions. Now we're going to drain some of this liquid real quick. Now we're going to add our onions and our wet ingredients. Add some soy sauce, and it doesn't have to be a lot since it's strong, but you want to just make it so that you can get a thick base after it cooks down for a bit, because that meat's still going to expend some liquid, and so will the onions. Then we'll wash our hands, get this mixed up nice, and throw a lid over it and let it simmer. Now you just want to get the onions to cook down. I don't go for a crunch on the onions. I like them to be completely cooked and a bit soggy. That way you just get the flavor from them. Now we're just going to let that sit there and simmer with a lid on it and steam up. simmer for a few minutes, and as that's doing that, we're going to toast the buns and get them ready, and then it's pretty well done. Now, without measuring stuff, I normally just cook to taste and try it through the dish. And you might have to add a little bit more of the seasoning or the W sauce or the soy sauce, depending on your taste. Or add some other spices like some red pepper flakes or another seasoning like a smoking seasoning, and just, it's all about experimenting when cooking, and that's what makes it fun. Now while that's simmering for just a little bit to get the garlic opened up, gonna turn on the oven and get our rolls cut. Now I like toasting the rolls because you can put a little bit of the juice on it and it won't make the rolls soggy. And I like using a hard crust Kaiser roll because it seems to hold up a lot better than a soft bread. But you can use whatever you'd like. And as this cools, the liquid in the pan will get real thick. And it's even better the day after. All them flavors soak into the meat and reabsorbs, but it's really good fresh too. Because I'll probably be taking this in my lunch this week. I like topping it with a little bit of A1 sauce just to give it a little bit more depth of flavor. But you don't have to. I'll just turn that off, let the rolls toast up a little bit, and we'll make a couple sandwiches. Now, we're going to pull one set of buns out, and we're going to get some provolone melting on the other one, on the bottom of it. It is pretty good with some melted cheese on it. This is provolone, but it's really good by itself too. We'll start assembling one and let the other one get a little melty. And you got all that good garlic in there. And with toasting it, it helps it absorb the moisture without getting too soggy. Now we'll just top it with a little bit of A1. Oh, that was more than I thought. And that sandwich is ready to go. And as you can see, that sauce is already starting to thicken up, just from the heat being killed for a little bit. Now this is a pretty hearty dish, definitely good after a long day in the cold. Okay, this is Tessa. She's normally behind the camera, recording us doing different things. Now this is the provolone and this is the one without it, and we're just going to try them and see what we think. Now the A1 just has a little bit more of a kick to it, but it's plenty good without it. And like I said, it might have taken 45 minutes between simmering it down, but you don't have to as much. But I think all in all it turned out pretty good. And it's definitely a good week classic.
Very good.
So, thanks for tuning into another episode with Twisted Barrel Outdoors. And give this a try and let us know how you think.